My sister texted me, "Don't come to my wedding, just watch the live stream." I texted back. The text came in at 6:12 p.m. on a Tuesday, the kind of hour when I was usually rinsing paintbrushes in the utility sink and listening to my downstairs neighbor's TV through the vent. For a moment, I assumed it was a joke sent to the wrong person. My sister had a habit of tossing sharp words into group chats and calling it banter. But this wasn't in the family thread. It was directly to me. I stared at it until my phone dimmed. Then I tapped it, awake, and read it again. Same words, no emoji, no explanation, no lull to soften it. My apartment was quiet. In that particular way it gets after sunset. Refrigerator hum, radiator ticking, the sound of someone in another building laughing at something you'll never hear. On my desk, a manila folder sat open beside my laptop. Inside was a vendor contract for my sister's wedding florist, printed on thick paper with my notes in the margins. I had written deliveries need access code and confirm bridal bouquet ribbon color, ivory, not white. I had called the florist myself 3 days earlier. Mara wasn't the kind of person who handled details. She handled optics. Her fiancé Dev handled money and the kind of calm confidence that comes from never having to explain yourself. I was the person who got things done quietly. I picked up the phone again and scrolled up, past my sister's earlier messages from the last few months. "Can you spot me for the venue deposit? Just for a week." I told Mom, "You're covering the invitations because you have connections." Dev says if you can't be supportive, don't come. I didn't answer right away. I set the phone down beside the folder and went to wash my hands, slowly, like the water could give me a better thought. When I came back, I sat at my desk and opened my calendar. Saturday, June 22nd, was circled in my mind already. Mara's wedding date, 3.5 weeks away. There was a line item on my calendar for that morning. Pick up place cards, print shop, 9 a.m. Another drop off emergency kit to hotel suite, 11:30 a.m. Those weren't things guests did. Those were things you did when you were quietly recruited into being unpaid staff. I looked at the text again. Don't come. A memory landed uninvited. Mara in our parents' driveway last summer, arms folded, speaking loudly enough for the neighbor to hear. Ellie's always been useful, she'd said, laughing into her iced coffee. Like a Swiss Army knife. Not exactly fun at parties, but you always want her nearby. Everyone had laughed, even my mom, who laughs when she's uncomfortable and wants the moment to pass. I hadn't laughed. I hadn't corrected her either. I'd just stood there holding a bag of groceries I'd paid for because Mara had forgot her wallet. That was how it usually went. Mara took, I steadied. Mara performed, I managed. I unlocked my laptop and opened the wedding spreadsheet I'd built for her in March when she'd called me crying about a missing deposit. It was color-coded, itemized, and linked to receipts. I'd created separate tabs, vendors, payments, timeline, contacts, and one more I hadn't told her about, notes. The notes tab had dates, screenshots, amounts, who said what and when, not because I was plotting, because years of dealing with my sister had trained me to keep reality somewhere stable, in case she decided later that reality had changed. I clicked into the Notes tab and added a new line. May 28th, 6:12 p.m. Mara text, "Don't come to my wedding, just watch the live stream." Then I took a screenshot of the message itself and saved it into a folder labeled Mara Wedding on my desktop. A small habit. A quiet one. I didn't know yet what I'd need it for. My sister and I were 2 years apart. We grew up in the same house, but we were treated like different species. Mara was bright, loud, and pretty in a way that made adults forgive her. Teachers called her spirited. Relatives called her a star. Boys called her. She knew what her face could do in a room, and used it. I was the kid who got good grades and didn't ask for much. I didn't break rules. I didn't take up space. I became competent early because it made the house easier. It made my mom's shoulders look less tense. It made my dad stop rubbing his forehead like it hurt. When Mara slammed doors, my parents chased after her. When I stayed quiet, they assumed I was fine. Even now, as adults, the pattern had simply changed settings. Mara didn't need rides to soccer anymore. She needed deposits. She needed someone to talk to vendors. She needed someone to absorb the awkwardness when she decided to humiliate me in front of people and call it family humor. The engagement party was a good example. It had been at Dev's parents' house, an enormous place on a lake, all glass doors and pale wood, and a kind of kitchen that looked staged. There were maybe 40 people there, most of them Dev's side. My parents and I were a smaller cluster, standing near a tray of champagne flutes, like we were unsure if we were allowed to touch them. Vera had worn a white dress and announced loudly that the venue cost more than my annual rent. Then she'd clinked her glass and called for attention. "I just want to thank everyone," she'd said, smiling like it was practiced. "And especially my sister Ellie, because without her, half of this would not be happening." A few people turned to look at me. Some smiled politely, like they were ready to clap. Mara's smile sharpened. "Not because she's emotionally supportive," she added, "the way you toss a bone. But because she's, reliable. She's basically my assistant." Dev laughed. Just a short sound, and put an arm around her waist like this was charming. People laughed with him because they didn't know what else to do. I remember the heat behind my ears, not rage, something quieter. The awareness of being turned into a prop in someone else's story. Afterward, Mara kissed my cheek and whispered, "Relax, it was a compliment." I'd nodded and asked if she'd eaten. That was my instinct. Make it smooth, keep moving. But that night when I got home, I opened the notes tab and wrote down what she'd said, word for word. And I saved it, not as revenge, but as proof that my mind wasn't exaggerating. So when the "don't come" text arrived, it didn't surprise me as much as it should have. Still, it was strange. If Mara didn't want me physically at her wedding, why had she been leaning on me so hard for months? I scrolled through my bank app. In April, I'd sent her $2,400, venue deposit just for a week. She had paid back $500 and then stopped answering when I asked for a timeline. In May, I'd covered $680 for invitations because the printer wouldn't release them without final payment. Then there were the little things: Uber rides for vendor meetings, boxes of decor she'd ordered to my address because her building's front desk lost packages, and the hotel room she'd asked me to book under my name because my card has a limit right now. All of it had been wrapped in urgency and charm. All of it had landed with me. I had records for every one. I didn't know what Mara was doing, but I knew one thing. She was confident enough to say this out loud, casually, as if she expected me to accept it. That confidence usually meant she had already told someone a different story. I picked up my phone and typed slowly, "Me." "Okay." I stared at the word. It looked almost funny, so small for something so large. I could have asked why. I could have fought. I could have called my mom and demanded someone explain, but reacting impulsively had never helped. Not with Mara. Not in a room full of witnesses. Not when the story was already being shaped without me. So I added one more line. "Me? Send me the live stream link when you have it." Then I set my phone face down. A minute later, it buzzed. "Mara, thanks for being mature about it. Dev's family is super traditional, and I don't want weird vibes. You get it. Weird vibes." I let that sit there without touching it. The phrase was familiar, the way Mara described anything that threatened her polished narrative. If someone asked an inconvenient question, it was weird. If someone looked tired in photos, it was weird. If someone didn't laugh at her joke, it was weird vibes. I turned the phone over again and took another screenshot. Then I opened my email and searched for Mara wedding. Dozens of threads popped up. Vendor confirmations, invoices, seating plan drafts, a contract PDF from the venue. I had been CC'd on almost everything, not because Mara respected my presence, but because she liked having someone else to catch mistakes. I clicked into the most recent email from the venue coordinator. It was dated 2 days ago. Subject: final guest count plus security list. In the body, the coordinator had written, "Please confirm names for the security list at the entrance. Anyone not on the list will be redirected to the Livestream viewing lounge." Thank you. I reread that line. Redirected to the Livestream viewing lounge. It wasn't just my sister's attitude. It was a plan. A security list. A lounge. A polite way to keep people out without saying, "You aren't wanted." I scrolled down further. Attached was a PDF titled Approved Guest List. I clicked it open. The list was alphabetical, pages long. My name wasn't there, not under E, not anywhere. But at the bottom of the PDF, under Approved Vendors/Staff, there was something else. A single line that made my fingers go cold on the trackpad. Ellie Harper, Day of Coordinator Assistant, Access, Staff. I didn't move for a few seconds, not because I was shocked my sister would do something like this, because I understood what it meant. I wasn't invited as family. I was listed as labor, and labor could be kept out of photos. Labor could be redirected. Labor could be told to watch the live stream. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Mara. I didn't pick it up right away. I just sat there, staring at the PDF, at my own name under staff, at the quiet clarity of it. Then, calmly, I clicked print and saved the guest list and security list PDF into my folder. And finally, I turned my phone over to see what she'd said. Mara. Also, I need you to drop off the cash envelopes to my suite the morning of. I'll tell you which room. Don't mess it up. I stared at that sentence until the words lost their shape. Cash envelopes. Not gift cards. Not a registry. Cash. And she was trusting me with it because she assumed I'd do what I always did, swallow the insult and carry the weight. I didn't answer. I opened my notes tab and added another line. Then I created a new subfolder inside Mara Wedding and named it Receipts, Staff List, Cash. And without replying, I let the phone sit in silence, because for the first time, I wasn't deciding how to make her wedding easier. I was deciding how to make the truth impossible to reframe. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Mara. It was my mom calling. I watched it ring until it stopped, and I didn't feel guilty. I felt focused. Because I already knew what my mother was going to say. She was going to ask me to be the bigger person, and I was going to be. Just not in the way they expected. I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and began typing the first text I'd send that night. Not to Mara, but to someone else entirely. Someone who could verify what my sister had just done. Someone who would still be there when the live stream ended. And before I hit send, I took one more screenshot, because this was the moment the story stopped being a family misunderstanding and started becoming a timeline. Then my thumb hovered over the screen, and I pressed send. The person I texted back wasn't a lawyer or a relative. It was the venue coordinator. Me. Hi, this is Ellie Harper. I'm listed under staff on the approved access list. I just want to clarify my role in access for June 22nd. I didn't add emotion. I didn't accuse. I let the facts speak. She replied 20 minutes later. Venue coordinator. Hi, Ellie. Yes, you're listed as a Day of Coordinator Assistant. You'll have staff access only, no seating in the ceremony space. Is that correct? I read it twice. Is that correct? The casual confidence in her question told me everything. Mara hadn't framed this as a conflict. She'd framed it as logistics. I typed back. Me? I wasn't aware of that designation. Can you forward me the contract or communication where this role was assigned? A pause. Then, venue coordinator. Sure, one moment. I waited without doing anything else. When you rush, you miss details. The email came through with a forwarded chain attached. I opened it slowly. It was from Mara, sent 3 weeks earlier. Ellie will assist with day of coordination. Please list her as staff only. She's family, but prefers to work behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. I scrolled down. There was no response from me, no confirmation, no acknowledgement. Just the venue coordinator replying, Understood. I saved the entire email chain as a PDF and added it to the folder. Then I replied, Me, thank you for clarifying. I'll follow up if needed. I didn't say more. I didn't correct her. I didn't explain that I had never preferred anything of the sort. The truth didn't need urgency. It needed shape. My mother called again an hour later. I answered this time because ignoring her would only make her anxious, and anxiety had a way of turning into pressure. Ellie, she said, already mid-sigh, Mara says you're upset. I'm not, I said. That part was true. She's just under a lot of stress, my mom continued. Weddings bring out the worst in people. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the ceiling. There was a faint water stain above the window from a leak the landlord still hadn't fixed. "I understand," I said. "She said you agreed to watch the live stream," my mom added. "That was kind of you." I didn't respond right away. Silence has weight when you let it hang. "Ellie?" my mom prompted. "Yes," I said. I agreed. There was a small release of tension on the other end. I could hear it, relief that the problem had been smoothed over without confrontation. "That's good," she said. "You know how sensitive Mara is about appearances." I did know. After we hung up, I added another line to the Notes tab. May 28th, 8:41 p.m. Mom confirms Mara told family I agreed to livestream, not as a betrayal, as a record. The next day, Mara sent me a task list. It arrived as a Google Doc titled, "Ellie, Final Week Help." There were bullet points: pick up cash envelopes from bank, amount TBD, confirm florist arrival time, coordinate with venue security, staff access drop emergency kit to bridal suite, hold gifts during ceremony, deliver after photos. I scrolled without reacting. At the bottom, she'd added a comment. "Since you're not attending as a guest, this should be easy." I didn't reply in the document. I didn't push back. Instead, I opened my bank statements and highlighted every transfer I'd made to Mara since February. I labeled each one with the date, amount, and memo. Then I opened a new spreadsheet. Mara wedding, personal outlay line by line. I logged everything I had paid for personally. Not estimates. Exact amounts. Receipts attached. Screenshots embedded. The total surprised me, even though it shouldn't have. $7,842. That was more than 2 months of my rent. I didn't confront her about it. I didn't even mention it. What I did was forward the Google Doc task list to my personal email and export it as a PDF. Then I replied to Mara's last message. "Me, got it." She sent back a thumbs up emoji. The following week, her confidence grew. She started joking about the live stream openly. In a family group chat, she wrote, "Ellie gets front row seats from her couch, huh." Dev added, "VIP access." No one corrected them. At a dress fitting I attended, only because my mom begged me to drive her, Mara stood on the pedestal and adjusted her veil while looking at her reflection. "You don't mind, right?" she said casually. "It's just easier without extra family drama." I met her eyes in the mirror. "No," I said. "I don't mind." She smiled, satisfied. People like Mara mistook calm acceptance for agreement. That night, I received an email from the bank confirming a cash withdrawal request scheduled for June 21st. The amount was listed as $18,000. I stared at the screen. That wasn't petty cash. That was gift money. I checked the sender details. The request had been submitted using my account information. I hadn't authorized it. I called the bank immediately. After verifying my identity, the representative paused. "Yes," she said. The request was initiated yesterday via in-branch appointment. "In person?" I asked. "Yes." The appointment notes say it was made by someone listed as an authorized family contact. Authorized family contact. I knew exactly who that was. My mother had been added years ago, back when I'd needed help with paperwork and trusted that family boundaries meant something. I thanked the representative and asked them to freeze the transaction pending my confirmation. They did. Then I asked for the appointment records. She emailed them while we were still on the call. The notes were brief. Client request: cash withdrawal for wedding envelopes. Authorized by sister of account holder. Account holder unavailable. Unavailable! I added the bank email to the folder and updated the Notes tab. June 3rd. Unauthorized $18,000 withdrawal attempt. Initiated by Mara via mom's authorization. Transaction frozen. I didn't call Mara. I didn't call my mom. Instead, I sent a calm email to the bank requesting removal of all third-party authorizations on my account and confirmation in writing. Then I did something else. I forwarded the bank email to myself again, printing it to PDF, and added it to a new subfolder labeled Financial. By this point, the pattern was clear. Mara wasn't just excluding me socially. She was using the assumption of my compliance to move money without asking. And she was confident enough to do it sloppily. 2 days later, she texted me, "Mara, hey, quick thing. Bank said there was an issue with the cash pickup. Did you mess with it? I waited before answering. Not because I didn't know what to say, because timing matters. After an hour, I replied, The bank contacted me about an unauthorized request. I paused it. There was a long gap. Then, Mara, wow, okay. Didn't think you'd make this about control. Control. I took a screenshot. We can talk later. I'm working. She didn't respond. The next morning, Dev emailed me. Subject, cash envelopes. His tone was polite, professional. The kind people use when they think they're being reasonable. Ellie, we're on a tight schedule. Mara mentioned there was confusion with the bank. We need the envelopes ready by Friday. Let me know when you've resolved it. I read it carefully, then I replied with a single sentence. I'll need written confirmation of the source and intended distribution of the funds before proceeding. No accusation, no refusal, just process. He didn't reply. Instead, Mara posted an Instagram story that afternoon. A photo of her invitation suite spread across a marble table. Caption, Some people can't stand not being the center of attention. Boundaries are important. She didn't tag me. She didn't need to. People started texting, friends asking if I was okay. An aunt telling me to let it go. My mom leaving a voicemail about how embarrassed she was. I listened to the voicemail once. Then I archived it. And that night, as I was organizing files, I found something I hadn't been looking for. An old email thread from February. Subject, venue deposit. In it, Mara had forwarded me a PDF and asked me to spot it just for now. Attached was the venue contract. I opened it again, this time reading the fine print. And there it was, payer of record. Ellie Harper, not guarantor, not assistant. Payer. My name was on the contract, which meant something very specific. It meant that if anything went wrong, if payments bounced, if policies were violated, if funds were mishandled, the responsibility didn't sit with the bride. It sat with me. I leaned back slowly, the room very quiet. Then I smiled, just a little. Because that wasn't just a receipt. That was leverage. And for the first time since the Livestream text, I knew exactly where this was going. I closed the laptop, set my phone face down, and let the silence settle. The wedding was 3 weeks away, and Mara had no idea how exposed she already was. Once you know where the pressure points are, you stop rushing. I didn't confront Mara about the contract. I didn't tell my parents what I'd found. I didn't even tell the venue. I let the system keep running exactly as it was, because careless people reveal more when they believe nothing has changed. The next week, Mara reinstated the cash request through a different route. This time, she didn't go through my mother. She sent Dev. He showed up at my apartment on a Thursday evening without asking, dressed like he was stopping by an office, not someone's home. Buttoned down, sleeves rolled just enough to look approachable. "Hey," he said, glancing around my living room like it was a temporary inconvenience. "We should talk." I stepped aside and let him in. He didn't sit. He paced, hands in pockets. "Look," he said, "I know things have gotten complicated. Weddings do that. But we really need the cash envelopes finalized." "I understand," I said. He paused, thrown slightly by the lack of resistance. "The thing is," he continued, "Mara's parents already told people to bring cash. We can't have delays. It reflects badly." "On who?" I asked. He didn't answer directly. "You're listed as the payer on the venue contract," he said instead. "So it makes sense for you to handle it. Just operationally." There it was, casual admission. "I'd like to keep everything clean," I said. Written confirmation, same as I emailed. He sighed, a sound meant to convey patience. "Ellie, your family." "I know," I said. "Then you know we'd never do anything inappropriate." I didn't argue. I didn't agree. "Send me the documentation," I said. "I'll review it." He left shortly after, clearly annoyed but trying to hide it. I waited until his car pulled away before opening my laptop. I documented the visit. Date, time. Summary. Not feelings. The next day, the venue coordinator emailed again. Venue coordinator. Hi, Ellie. Just confirming staff arrival time is 7 a.m. Security will check IDs. Let me know if you need anything. Staff arrival time. I replied with one sentence. Me. Thank you. Please include me on all final security and access communications. She did. That inclusion turned out to be useful. Over the following days, I received copies of internal emails I hadn't seen before. Seating adjustments. VIP arrivals. A note from Mara requesting that certain non-guest family members be redirected discreetly. She had created a category for me. I didn't challenge it. Instead, I compiled. Meanwhile, Mara's public confidence increased. She posted countdown stories, bridal shower photos, a reel captioned, "Only positive energy allowed." Underneath, friends commented heart emojis. No one saw the spreadsheets, the emails, the bank records. No one saw the way she'd assigned me staff access while telling people I'd chosen not to attend. A week before the wedding, she sent me one final message. Mara, just so you know, security will escort staff through the side entrance. Don't take it personally. It's just how these things work, I replied an hour later. Me. Understood. That same evening, I scheduled an email. It was addressed to 3 people: the venue coordinator, the bank's compliance department, and Dev. The subject line was neutral. Subject, June 22nd. Financial and access clarification. I didn't send it yet. I set it to deliver at 10:15 a.m. on the wedding day. After the ceremony start time. Before the reception. A deliberate window. In the meantime, I prepared something else. I created a private folder in the cloud and uploaded everything. Screenshots, PDFs, bank correspondence, contracts, timelines. I labeled it clearly and shared view-only access with a single person, my Aunt Claire. She was my father's sister, a retired accountant. Quiet, precise, not sentimental about weddings. I didn't ask her to do anything. I just wrote, "In case anyone needs verification later." She replied with one word. Received. The day before the wedding, my mother came by unexpectedly. She stood in my kitchen, hands clasped, eyes tired. "Why are you making this harder than it needs to be?" she asked. "I'm not," I said. "Mara's been crying," she said. "She feels like you're punishing her." I looked at my mother for a long moment, at the lines around her mouth that had deepened over the years of smoothing over conflict that wasn't hers to fix. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm just not covering for it anymore." She didn't argue. She just looked away. That night, I laid out my clothes for the next day. Not a dress, not heels, slacks. A blouse, flat shoes, staff attire. I set my alarm for 5:30 a.m. The wedding morning was clear and bright. The kind of day photographers love. I arrived at the venue at 6:50 a.m. and checked in with security. They scanned my ID and handed me a staff badge. No one questioned it. Inside, the place buzzed with quiet efficiency. Florists arranging centerpieces, catering staff unloading trays, coordinators with headsets. Mara swept past me once, already in a robe, hair half done. She didn't stop. "Did you bring the envelopes?" she asked, not slowing. "They're pending," I said. She frowned, then recovered. "Fix it," she said. "I don't need drama today." I nodded. At 9:45 a.m., guests began arriving. I watched from the side corridor as people I'd known my entire life were handed programs and guided to their seats. No one looked for me. At 10 a.m., the ceremony music started. I checked my phone. 10:14 a.m., I opened my email drafts one last time, read through the scheduled message, confirmed the attachments. Everything factual, no commentary. Then I locked my screen and put the phone in my pocket. At 10:15 a.m., as Mara walked down the aisle, my email went out. I stood near the back holding a clipboard I didn't need, listening to the music swell. And I waited, because the next 30 minutes would decide whether this stayed a private inconvenience or became something no one could pretend not to see. And as the officiant began to speak, my phone vibrated once in my pocket. Then again. I didn't look at it. Not yet. I didn't check my phone until the ceremony ended. Applause rolled through the space. People stood. Chairs scraped softly against stone. The photographer called out instructions with cheerful authority. Only then did I step into a quiet service hallway and look down. 9 missed calls, 3 emails, 1 text from the venue coordinator marked urgent. I opened the email first. "You're just at 10 p.m. 6A. At 4 p.m. then, Mile. Venue coordinator, Ellie. We need to speak immediately. There are discrepancies regarding payer responsibility, staff designation, and financial authorization. Please come to the admin office." No panic in her wording. Just precision. I walked there without hurrying. Inside the office were the coordinator, a venue manager I hadn't met before, and Dev. His jaw was tight. His confidence had thinned into something brittle. "Ellie," the manager said, "thank you for coming." I nodded and took a seat. The coordinator turned her laptop so I could see the screen. My scheduled email was open. Attached were the venue contract listing me as payer of record, the email where Mara designated me as staff-only bank correspondence regarding the unauthorized $18,000 withdrawal attempt, screenshots of texts instructing me to handle cash envelopes despite guest exclusion number commentary, just documentation. "We need clarification," the manager said. "You are financially liable under this contract, but you were assigned staff access without consent. Additionally, there was an attempted withdrawal connected to this event that raises compliance concerns." Dev leaned forward. "This is being blown out of proportion." The coordinator didn't look at him. "Actually," she said, "this is standard procedure when payer responsibility and access rights conflict." I spoke for the first time. "I wasn't informed I'd be listed as staff," I said. "I didn't authorize any cash handling." "I'm not disputing the wedding. I'm clarifying my boundaries." The manager nodded. "Given the information," he said, "we'll need to revise the payer designation immediately, or suspend further transactions under your name." Dev went still. "That's not necessary," he said quickly. I'd prefer removal," I said calmly. "Effective today." Silence settled. The manager typed. The coordinator took notes. "Done," the manager said finally. "You're released from financial responsibility. We'll invoice the couple directly." Deb stood. "I need to talk to Mara," he said. "No," the coordinator replied. "We'll handle that." He left without another word. I stepped back into the corridor just as guests were being ushered toward the reception space. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. A text from my mother. "What is happening?" "People are asking questions." I didn't answer. At the reception, it unfolded quietly. The coordinator approached the head table and spoke to Mara and Dev in low voices. Mara's smile froze. She glanced around, searching. She saw me near the exit. Our eyes met. She started toward me, but her mother caught her arm. Someone else leaned in. A photographer pretended not to notice. The music kept playing. An hour later, the Livestream chat, still running for distant relatives, started filling with speculation. Someone posted that the reception was delayed due to logistics. Another asked why the couple had stepped away. No one mentioned my name. They didn't have to. By evening, the consequences had settled into place. The venue required immediate payment confirmation from Dev's account. The bank flagged the earlier withdrawal attempt for review. The cash gifts were redirected to a secure process I wasn't involved in. And the story, Mara's story, changed shape. She told people there had been a misunderstanding with the venue, that I'd overstepped. That stress had made things messy, but now there were witnesses, emails, administrators, a paper trail she didn't control. A week later, I received a short email from the venue confirming my full release and thanking me for professional conduct. I archived it. Mara didn't call. She didn't text. She posted honeymoon photos like nothing had happened. I didn't comment. I removed her access from my accounts. I updated my emergency contacts. I stopped answering messages that assumed my availability. My mother came by once more. "You didn't have to embarrass her," she said quietly. "I didn't," I replied. "I just stopped absorbing it." She didn't argue. Life didn't explode. It narrowed, which was better. On June 22nd of the following year, I noticed the date pass without reaction. No tightness, no replay, just another day. I had my receipts, I had my boundaries. And for the first time, I didn't need to be useful to be at peace.